Hi. Hello there. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm Vanessa Short. I'm a Seint artist, and I'm going to be putting my makeup on with this one palette. Now, mine's kind of big. A lot of people start out with this makeup and they just have 4 tins, and these are the tins. So I'll tell you real quick what I'm going to use. These are my foundation colors. So normally I just use these two. This is my main foundation. This is what you would consider concealer. And then I've got contour, bronzer. I'll use this blush. I might use this color on my eyebrows. Then I've got some eyeshadows and powders on my bottom level. So I do my makeup a little bit different every day, but I want to show you some easy tips that you can apply to any makeup line. And I hope that you find it helpful. As we go along, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself too. So my name is Vanessa, and I have been a Seint artist for 4.5 years, but I've actually been a licensed cosmetologist and makeup artist for almost 33 years. I retired from hair, so I put down my shears December of 2021 to do this full time, or exclusively, I say, because I really don't work full time. But I just sprayed on some setting spray onto my dampened perfector sponge. If you guys have a beauty blender or a sponge like this and you don't use it, I encourage you to try it. The trick is you always want to dampen it completely so it's super squishy, and then you're going to squeeze it out so there's no water dripping out of it. But it is a wonderful tool. I love using it to apply my primer like that, and I'm going to use it later to apply some primer or blend my makeup at the end too. So anyway, yeah, I've been in the beauty business. I love teaching, I love learning, and I have learned so many things throughout the years that I love to share those things with you. So let's start with our makeup. I'm going to actually start with just my foundation color. This is the one that matches my skin the closest. Seint makeup is cream makeup, cream foundation, so it might be a little bit different than what you're using, but it's super pigmented, and if you notice, I'm just barely tapping in there. And I'm getting it on, and I'm just kind of blending it everywhere. You may have seen this makeup with the lines and the dots method. You can do that too. But honestly, for starting out, sometimes this is a little bit easier because it feels more like what you're used to. So I'm just going to put that main color everywhere, very lightly. Because this is cream makeup, there's no water content in it, so there's nothing to evaporate. Love that. It's buildable, so if you want more coverage in just a couple of areas, that's where you just dab and apply a little bit more. One of my biggest tips for doing your makeup is finding good lighting. So right now I am actually sitting in front of a window. It's not super sunny out, but there's definitely natural light coming in, and I don't have any background light. That makes a huge difference with any makeup application. Okay, this is my contour. I'm just grabbing this little bit smaller brush, and I'm going to apply my contour. I actually like to find where my cheekbone dips in, and then I go right above that. And I stay on the outer corner of that eye. I don't usually bring it in any further. If you want to create some more fullness in here, you can totally bring that in a little bit more. Like if you have a very thin or narrow face, I think that that's a great idea. I already have some natural fullness there, so I don't want to emphasize it. And then I'm going to take the same contour and I'm going to put it along my hairline. Now, you might be thinking, why do you have contour and bronzer? Aren't they the same? They are not. Contour is a cooler shade, so it mimics more of a shadow. And if you end up getting this makeup, I usually will color match you. Your contour will most likely match your eyebrows too, so you can use it as eyebrow filler. And that's really cool. I'm just going to run this along my jawline, and then I like to put a little bit right here. It kind of helps give a natural shadow and sculpts that out. And I put it on my jowl a little bit to diminish that. But back to the contour bronzer. Contour is going to create shadows, sculpt, and bronzer gives you that glow. So while we're talking about it, why don't I just put some bronzer on right now? So bronzer is a little bit warmer. I'm going to put that at the high points of my face. I usually like to think of just going like this, like blessing yourself. So kind of a little bit more on the cheek and above where I put that contour. A lot of people like to use their bronzer just as their blush, and that's totally cool. And then I always bring some down here because I feel like this never sees the sun. You can use this contour as lip liner, as eyeshadow, as eyeliner. I'll probably use them as eyeshadow today too. All right, now we are going to go into our brightening shade. So this was what I said was like your concealer. I'm gonna put it on the inner corner of my eye. I'm not gonna quite blend it, so just so you can see where I put it, and down the side of my nose, and then I'm gonna put a little bit right down the center of my nose, and then up on the corner of my eye. And for a little extra pop on the cheekbone, I put a little dot right here. We'll come back and blend that in a second. I just want you to see where I put it. And I'm gonna flip this brush around, grab a little bit more of the contour, and I'm gonna contour my nose. So contouring your nose, this is a tip you can apply to any makeup. If you want to contour your nose, the best thing to do is use a contour, not a bronzer. But if all you have is a bronzer, you can try it. You're going to want to make 2 skinny lines on the top of your nose, not on the sides, but more on the top. And what you're trying to do is get these 2 dark lines as close together as you can so that you have 1 skinny line in the middle. The skinnier the line is in the middle, the skinnier your nose will look. So if you already have a beautifully skinny nose, a long nose, you may not want to do this. If you have a long nose, you might just want to put a little bit right on the tip to shorten it. So those are some tips you can try out. All right, before I finish blending my makeup right there, I'm just going to add some blush. I like to put my blush on with my finger because sometimes I get too much with my brush. So I'm going to put this above where I put my contour. Might be a little different than where you put it, but I usually will smile and make sure I keep it out of that smile line area, but I want this to look really lifted. You can also use our creams on your lips. So this is actually called a lip and cheek color. And then I'm just going to grab that big fluffy brush and I'm going to blend it. So I'm concentrating the color right in here, and then I'm kind of going up, and I'll bring a little bit down closer to the apple of my cheek, but just blend it until you like what you've got. And here's another thing you can use that sponge for. If you get too much on, take your dampened sponge and you can just tap it and it'll blend it in and it'll pull off any excess. So if you've got a ton on there, this goes the same for makeup around your eyes and things like that. All right, I'm just gonna grab that small brush again and I'm gonna blend that brightening highlight that I did. And if you notice, I didn't put any right here in the middle. That's usually where people feel like they're the darkest, but I'm actually going to apply my darker foundation there. When you're covering darkness, use the same darkness. Same goes for blemishes. So I save covering blemishes and dark circles and things until the very end. I usually need to put something under my nose too, because I'm red. Before we do that, let's put a little bit of this into our brows. Now this is a little bit different one that I'm using. It's from our Demi line. If you want to know more about that, I can tell you, but that's a line that works with the color wheel and neutralizing color, but it's basically the same color as my contour. It's just a little stiffer consistency, so I like to use it. Brows are really important, and if you noticed when I did my brows, I started at the arch and did the tail first, and then whatever's left over on my brush, I did the rest. Most of us are the weakest in our brow area here to here. So that's why I start there, and then you barely need anything right here. Let's do a little bit of eyeshadow. I'm going to use this bronzer that I was using as my eyeshadow because all of our stuff is intermixable, interchangeable. You can use them on your face, your lips, your eyes. Break all the rules with makeup. Here's another tip I learned with a little bit heavier eyes, a little bit more hooded eyes. Instead of just putting it in your crease, open up your eye and put a dot that lines up with the arch right above your crease and blend from there. Just leave a space. Don't touch your eyebrow with that dark color. That can really kind of make you look even heavier and drawn down. So I like to put a little bit right there, and then I've been kind of sweeping it out towards the corner instead of filling in this little triangle here. So I'm leaving this light. If you notice, everything's kind of up. It's helpful, trust me. Okay, let's put a little bit more eyeshadow on, but I'm gonna just grab one of my shimmery shades and I'm gonna use my finger and I'm just gonna put a little bit right on the center of my lid. Now, these are powders, if you're wondering. We do have a few cream eyeshadows. In fact, one of them is this one right here, and I love using it as eyeliner. So let's do that. And then this is a little brush cleaning tile, so I can wipe off excess makeup that was on that brush. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. Here's another tip. When you're doing your eyeliner, if you've been using the same eyeliner color, same style for more than probably 10 years, try changing it up, because you might be aging yourself and you don't even know it. So I'm using brown, and I'm not going further than halfway on the bottom. And then on the top, I am going all the way across, but I'm doing a softer line. If you like a little wing, you might want to add a little wing, but instead of coming straight out, again, we're going up. Okay, so there's that. If you want to add just a little bit of extra darkness or anything, I'm going to put a little bit more right there. And I'm pretty much done with my eyes. So let's just go back to covering up these little dark circles. So you can use your darker foundation. Like I said, I'm just going to grab the smaller brush. It's a little easier to handle. You can use your finger for this too. But I'm just going to apply the darker foundation color where I feel the very darkest. And a lot of times I'll look down like this and kind of create an extra shadow just so I make sure I'm only putting it right there. Look at that. It's like magic. It just disappears. And then I'm going to put a little extra under my nose because that's always red. And if you have any blemishes and they're really tiny, grab a tiny little brush. Same thing, using the darker foundation. Like I have a little dot right here on my nose. Just apply it right to that dot. And I think I'm pretty good today. But I always save those things until the end. Now you can use setting spray. And powder and or whichever. If you like the dewy look, you can just use your setting spray. Just like that. If you don't like spraying it on your face, you can spray it on your sponge. Then you can just lightly tap it. And if you like a little bit more of a matte finish, you can use your powder. You can use it with a brush. You can use it with a sponge if you have a little powder puff that you like. But let's just do it with our sponge. So this is called Vanilla Dust, but really any translucent powder, as long as it doesn't have any silicone in it. So here's another tip. I noticed that if you have a powder that says HD, it has some silicone in it. And what that does is it creates some slip. So it feels like silk when you're putting it on, but it doesn't work well with our foundation. So, all right. I love this makeup because everything is buildable. Now, if I'm looking at this and I'm like, I want a little bit more blush. I feel like now I don't have enough. So I'm going to add some more, and it doesn't matter that I put a little bit of powder on. It won't cake up. And you can touch this up throughout the day. And then one of the last things is a little bit of illuminator. So illuminator, you might actually know as highlighter. So it's going to be that little bit of a sheen. This is a cream. We also have powder. So here's one of our powders. They're definitely a little bit more intense. Actually, I like to put those just right on that inner corner of my eye right there. A little pop of brightness there. But the cream illuminators are super subtle. They're beautiful for mature skin or even really dry skin. And this is a great tip too. Like, you don't really want to see it until you turn and the light hits it, and it's for other people to see your glow. That's what I like to say. All right, so that's it. I'm all done. I worked out of my one compact. I'm actually on the road right now, so it's super easy to travel with this makeup. And then a couple of brushes I used. and my perfector sponge. So if you guys have any questions, if you want to know about any of the colors or the makeup, or you would like to get it for yourself, I am so thrilled to help you with that. And that's it. I'm Vanessa Short, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Please ask all your questions down there. I don't seem to see them when the video's going, so I have to come back, but I will answer all of them for you. Thank you.